Alright, welcome back to Scufris, our own AI LLM assistant. So far we integrated Olama into our project and we are able to run multiple LLMs. We can choose which one to use. We can run tools. So we have an LLM that's able to call to tools. And I added here a tool that makes requests to weather.in to check the weather in a specific city. And you can see that it replies with probably the right response. I mean, we can also see the debug messages and have more information about what happens behind the scenes. Like here, for instance, we can see that it adds a tool for the weather. It completed adding the tool, whatever. We can see it changing the system prompt, and then we can ask what is the weather in Tokyo or whatever city. And you can see that it makes the request. Here it gets the response from weather.in. So I guess it's pretty simple, the response. And then it makes the reply that it's gonna show us, right, with the information that it gets from the request. Perfect. So last time the main file was in shambles. It was all over the place, but I refactored a couple of things since last time. Honestly, I still hate the code base, and I mean it's only part 2, but it is what it is. So uh, how I thought about refactoring this thing was we are gonna have three main components. One is gonna be LLM, which is kind of like the LLM provider, let's say. So this guy is gonna be an interface for an LLM, whatever that is. It has a chat function and it's supposed to get in a request and return a response. So the request pretty straightforward. It's gonna have the model name. Right now I think we are using llama 3.2 or whatever. It's gonna have the history of messages, so all the messages that we sent in the chat so far. Right now it's only 2 messages. All the tools that are available. Right now we only have the weather tool. We'll see how that works, and if it's a streaming response or not. So for a streaming response, still have to check how we can do that in Go. Right now it's hard coded to false, which I mean it's whatever, but I would like to add streaming because it would be kind of cool to see the response being built up here instead of just getting the final response right away. Because I mean the main logic why you want streaming in such an app is because you want the user to not get bored, basically. I mean, that's the main reason. You want the response to be generated while the user has something to look at. So I guess that's the only reason. So yeah, but would be cool to have it nonetheless. Okay, so that's basically the chat request, and then the chat response is just a message. Right, and Olama, I guess it replies with multiple things, but not really care about how long it took or the cost or whatnot, so we only care about the message. Perfect. So that's basically the LLM package. And right now it only has this Olama provider, which just calls to, you give it the base URL. Here in our case, since we are hosting it locally, it's gonna be localhost. And it implements this chat function, which lets you make requests to obviously the LLM that you use in your chat request. So this right here, the Olama and the whatnot, the LLM itself doesn't care about history, or it doesn't manage the history. You just build a request structure with whatever you want. You can even make up things in the history and even in the tools and whatnot. So it's just you do whatever you want with the chat request and you send it to the LLM. So the LLM itself doesn't have a history, doesn't have doesn't act with the tools. It just makes a request and it just completes the text with more text. So it does what you would expect from an LLM. It gives you the next token basically, right? And the request itself, I guess behind the scenes Olama will take the messages and format them nicely, and probably the tools, right? So it's gonna create a huge blob of text, put it into the LLM, I guess tokenizer first, but then put it into the LLM, and the LLM spits out some more text, and it gives us back that text. So that's all the LLM package does. It knows how to generate the next token. Okay, then let's go to the more interesting stuff, like the tools, for instance. So the tools, we can see how the weather tool looks like. So we are using parameters for the tool. Here the weather tool needs a CT parameter. I mean, we can use even other parameters, but this is just like a demo, let's say. It can validate the fields, whether they are correct or not. And then it has the main part, which is actually calling the tool. Oh, and this is the tool structure. And the params field is required. It has to be here, and it has to be called like this. It's, I don't know, I had to do some Golang magic to make it easier to add tools, but the idea is you need to have these params here, and then whatever you want as other fields. And then you create the structure, you fill in your stuff like the URL for the weather app. Here we are using weather in, right? Then you need to implement the tool, so you need to have a name function, it's weather, description, and yeah, then it has this call function, which just makes the request to the website and gives you back some data to use with the LLM. Okay, and the tool here, it's like a registry where we are storing all of our tools in a hash map. And as you can see, this is the interface for a tool, interface for parameters, and this is how you register a tool. And it's kind of but if it works, it works. So it's kind of using reflect. I mean, it was a nightmare to come up with these things, but I mean, if it works, it works. So the idea is register tool takes as an argument something that's a tool, right? It gets the name, it gets the description, so we can print stuff. And here it's taking the params field. So that's why I said the tool needs a params field, and we need a type of this params field, right? Because we need to we need a type. I guess we need a type for unmarshalling the data that we get from the tool, because as you might have seen, the tool returns, I guess it's not for the yeah, it's not for the output, it's for the input, because the LLM will output some JSON, but here we want this JSON to be converted into this struct, right? And that's basically what we are doing here. We are unmarshalling that JSON into this structure. And honestly, I didn't know how to do it in another way in Go. Maybe in other languages it would have been easier, but here it is what it is. I mean, whatever. If it works, it works, I guess. That's the whole point. So that's basically the tools. So even for the tools, the main idea is they just know how to act, like how to do their job, right? Basically, that's the whole idea with tools. They know to call an API, get a response based on some inputs, and it just returns the output, right? And then we have the final package, let's say, which is called agent, and this guy will have an LLM, That's the pretty important to have an LLM. It will also have the history of the conversation, so it will manage the history, all the messages. It will also have some, a list of tools, like a small, I mean, I wouldn't say a registry because it's just the tool info. So it's just the description, the name of the tool, and so on, right? And like that's the difference between an agent and an LLM. Basically, the agent will have access to an LLM to use, so it's gonna be able to make some calls, generate some text, but it's also important to save the history of the conversation and maybe use some tools. Because if you don't have tools, then it's kind of like just a chat interface. But with tools you can do cooler stuff, and we'll see today, like maybe being able to have tools that call to other LLMs. So in a way, we are gonna have multiple agents and they'll be able to call each other via tools. So that's gonna be something that we are gonna try to do today. Okay, and yeah, basically the constructor, adding a function tool. Here we just add a tool, we register it. In case it's not yet registered, we add it to the registry, and then we just take our info, right? Then a function to add messages to the history, and then a chat function, right? And the chat function is the important part. It basically proxies to the chat function of the LLM, but besides that, it also adds the messages in the history. And if we have tool calls in the response from the LLM, we actually act on those tools. So we get the tool, we call the tool, and then we add, I guess we recursively call to chat again, because now we have, basically when we get the response from a tool, we have to add that response into the history and then chat with the LLM again, because now it has more context. Like the tool is supposed to add more context to the conversation. You can think about it like that. That's the point of a tool. Okay, anyway, so I guess that's kind of all that we did last time as a short summary. So yeah, as I said, let's try to create multiple agents and make them interact with each other via some tools. So let's go back to the main file. Now the main file, it's much simpler. You can see it creates a client for Olama. Then it creates an agent. I guess we can have multiple things here, like maybe a description for the agent. We'll see what we need for today. So it creates a new agent, it adds some tools to that agent, then a system prompt. It's not really needed, but why not? And then is the chat interface. It sucks, but we can pretend that this is better, whatever. So it's just the chat interface. Okay, so the goal would be to create more agents here and to come up with a tool that can make them switch to one another. So that's gonna be the goal for today. So let's try to start. Okay, so I guess in the meantime, what I also did was to download DeepSeek and CodeLlama, and we'll try to use CodeLlama for an agent that knows how to code. So we'll pretend, I mean, probably Llama 3.2 knows how to code, but let's pretend that it doesn't know how to do that, and we'll use CodeLlama for coding. Okay, so let's actually I'm gonna Llama 3.2 1b. I'm just gonna use that there just so we see what happens. So this is calling to new agent, and as I said, we might want to add some name and description on these things, but we'll see. Okay, so we'll say that this agent is gonna be like the boss. So it basically knows how to call to the weather tool if it needs to call to the weather tool, and it will also know how to call to the coding assistant. So let's create another agent. Let's call it coder. So I'm gonna say Scufris new agent, and I think it's llama code, right? Llama code llama, and we'll provide the same client because it's the same client. Okay, so we have these two agents. Nice. So what we need to do is probably have something like agent.add function tool, and I would imagine that we need to create a new tool. So it's gonna be I think usually you want to call this thing like delegate to or something, delegate to, and I would have to pass probably the agent here. So this is a pointer. I think it's fine. So I think we need to do something like this. We need a tool that knows when you call this tool, it calls to this LLM. So we'll see how we are going to implement this tool. All right. And then I'm not sure if I want to delegate the other way around. I don't think so. So we are just going to keep it like this. Like coder will not have any tools. It will be like on its own. Maybe we'll add, I don't know, like being able to run code. But I don't know if I want to let an LLM run code on my machine. So we'll see if we are going to do that. I mean, it's going to be fun. What can go wrong, I guess? So delegate to, I think this is the tool that we need to implement. I mean, maybe it's going to be just delegate. Oh, and maybe just going to call it delegate tool. Okay, perfect. So if we try to run this thing, obviously we don't have this. So let's go ahead and implement it. See how it's gonna look like. So the delete delegate.go. Honestly, I was thinking maybe we can just copy paste stuff. Why not? Delegate. Delegate tool. So I'm not sure what we are gonna have in the parameters, so I'm gonna keep it empty for now. And then we need to add a validate function to implement the interface. So I'm just gonna keep it empty for now because again I'm not sure what we want to validate. The next thing is the tool itself. So let's see how this thing is gonna look like. So we are gonna have delegate tool. It needs parameters with this type. It's not gonna have a base URL. It should in fact have maybe it's gonna have a reference to an agent though. Agent, or let's call it yeah, sure, why not? We can call it agent, I guess, even though it's like whatever. So it's a Scufris agent. So it has to be a Scufris. The only thing that's gonna suck, I mean, I guess it doesn't suck because it's the main module. I was thinking that it's gonna have a dependency on agent, and agent has a dependency on tools. It's kind of ugly, but I think it's fine in Go. So probably we want logger as well to log some stuff. What's the problem? import cycle not allowed. So yeah, I guess that's the part that kind of sucks. So maybe we want to handle this thing in another way. But what's a bit annoying is that we still need to pass the agent. But I mean, what we can also do is to pass a string in here, right? And based on that string, we might have a mapping, and we are just gonna call it separately if it's like the delegate tool. I'm also curious if inside of the documentation, instead of docs, so here when we have the list of tools, I saw that most of the examples, or I guess the single example, is with a function tool. Yeah, I mean, that's how you're supposed to do it, like have a new tool. But can we do that in an easier way? I was thinking that if we have a name for an agent and we pass just the name, you might also want, the description of that thing. Also, another option would be, instead of add function tool, to have something like agent.add delegate, and here you could say coder. So the delegate tool would be more of a built-in thing to the agent rather than just a simple tool. I mean, it would still be a tool, but it would, I guess, would be better to do it like this, because you can see easier whether you add a tool or another agent, right? It would be maybe better for, if this was a library, a user would say, okay, so that's how you add a delegate. I guess I like this idea. Okay, so I guess you cannot escape the Python cycling import. Okay, so let's scrap the tool from here. We are gonna move this tool into the agent itself. So, oops, we might want to add delegate.go here. In fact, so it's gonna be package Scufris. So we don't need this part. We might need, we might need /tools. Right, we might need /tools. Perfect. So delegate tool, quite sure how it's gonna look like. So let's go into the agent, and here we have add function tool. Let's add function a agent and delegate. Okay, so now we have kind of the function, but we need to pass in an agent. So delegate pointer agent. Nice. So now this should be fine. Okay, so what are we gonna do at this point? Well, we want to add a tool, obviously. So a.add function tool. Okay, and I think I want to call it delegate, or I guess new delegate tool, and we just pass this guy in here. I think that's fine. Okay, and if we go here, we are gonna need a new function. New delegate tool is gonna take in an agent, and it's gonna do some stuff. This thing can return an error, so I might want to return an error. Right, it does all of this stuff, but this thing needs to return a tools.tool. I think it's also a pointer, tools.tool. Or is it? So if I look at the weather tool, I guess it's just tool. Whatever. Okay, whatever. So we have this thing. Perfect. So we can still copy paste stuff from the weather tool. I mean, tool is an interface, so I don't have to add a star, I guess. I don't know, still kind of new to see. Almost said Golang. Okay, so we have the logger, that's fine. And we also need to set up the agent as agent. And now probably is gonna complain that we don't have a call, name, and description. Okay, so let's see now in the weather tool we have this thing, the delegate tool, two. And now that's gonna be the interesting part, because what I would like to be able to do here is probably append some text in here, and this text will be the name of the agent. But as I said, we don't have currently agent.name. We don't have that function. We have to implement it. So I think that's what I want to do here. To do add name of the agent, because the delegate tool, it's not really, a single tool. It's more of a tool for each edge in the graph. So if you have 3 agents, and you have the boss one, I guess the supervisor, and then you have a coder and some other kind of LLM or agent, you need a delegate to each one of those. So I would say the name would be different, right? And in our registry from tools tool, the registry is a mapping. Wait, where is the registry? The registry is a mapping from name to tool factory. I guess tool factory is how you create the tool. Okay, whatever. Or I mean, the tool factory is this stuff. Yeah, how you initialize the parameters, I meant. Right now, I'm not sure. So I guess, actually, it makes sense. Probably the parameters is gonna be the prompt that we are sending to that tool. Why not? right? Because we are going to send some kind of prompt. We are going to have our supervisor ask this expert agent something. So we are going to have a prompt in here. So let's copy paste more stuff. So this thing is going to be prompt. Title is prompt. Description is the prompt to use for the delegate agent. Here it doesn't really matter that much. Right, so I think it's fine. Okay, so we have the delegate tools name. We're gonna have some kind of description, and again, this thing is gonna be to do add description of the agent, and again the description is agent specific, so each agent is gonna have its own description. Okay, and the last thing that we need is actually the call. Okay, so here it's delegate tool. It's gonna have some context, and it needs to return any or error, and in the any is probably gonna be a hash map somehow with a response, or maybe just a string. Okay, so what do we want to do in the call? Well, we have to look at the chat. So if we take a look at the chat function, we create a message. I guess we kind of just want to call chat on the agent, and probably it's fine if it sets the role to user. I'm not sure if you have to set the role to something else. I think it's fine to set the role to user. Okay, so I guess we are just gonna call chat on the agent. So let's see, agent.chat. I guess it's t dot agent.chat, and here we're gonna pass the context, but we need to use the public function. So chat, we're gonna use the context, and the prompt is gonna be t dot params prompt. Okay, and chat returns string and error, so we might be able to just return. Okay, so that's what I think call should do. Validate, still not sure. Maybe just check that the prompt is not empty or whatever. So do we have that in here? I think we did have something. So if the prompt is empty, prompt cannot be empty or whatnot. Okay, so we have everything. We just need to add some way of adding description to agents and names. So let's go to agent. Let's add here a name string and description string. So this is similar to how tools have a description and name, but I would make them just fields, because compared to a tool it's hard coded, while the agent you can set the name and description here, right? So let's say it takes in the name string and description string, and then we just pass the model and the LLM name description is description. Okay, I think that's fair. Right? Because again, the tool is more of a single function, it's more of a static thing, while the agent is actually a structure. Again, that's why I kind of hate the structure of the code, but it is what it is. So here we need to format this return thingy. So fmt dot format string, or how do you Golang format string? I guess we just need to do plus, but if I do sprintf, okay, sprintf, and we are gonna do delegate to, and then it's gonna be probably percentage s t dot agent name. So it's gonna be called delegate to a specific agent, and here it's gonna be the description of the agent. So the agent description. Now maybe we want to modify a bit the description here. Maybe we want to do something else, but I think it's fine. I think the description shouldn't be the system prompt, but a description of what the agent is supposed to do, so it should be okay. So I think that's the entire thing for this tool. Let's see what happened in main. So now we need to provide more stuff here. New agent expects the name and the description. So let's say this is gonna be supervisor. It doesn't even matter because we are not the supervisor agent. As I said, it doesn't matter because we are not using this one in as a delegate. We are just using coder as a delegate. Let's say coder. A coding expert agent. Coding expert. I mean, even if we just put just that, it should be enough. We might want to add a system prompt. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Maybe another cool thing that we can do is using, so from here, from Aulama, they have this thing called model file, where you can actually build your own models from other models. So I mean, you can just set parameters basically, but here you can set a system prompt and you can rename the models. So we might want to create one that's called Scufris or something, right? Okay, let's try to run this thing and see what happens. So agent function, it added a weather, delegate to coder, and then the description, a coding expert agent. Add that, it added a message, and let's say write hello world in Python. Let's see if it's gonna delegate that. Wait, did it actually first try? Agent chat called, okay. Agent add message, Olama chat called. So it created at tool calls, function, delegate to coder, prompt, write hello world in Python. Nice. And then it said add message called, role assistant, and it's empty. What? That's weird. Why does it show that? Add message. Role assistant content empty. Add agent add message. So this one is called here. It's also called here after the call to chat. So that's what it looks like, what happened. So it Olama chat response, right? So it called to this thing, and then why did it show empty? Result.message. The fuck? So it showed this thing, right? Olama chat response. And then here it added an empty message. Pretty strange. Whatever. I'll, we'll have to check on that. But then it said processing tool calls. I mean, yeah, it's true because it has tool calls, right? So maybe we want to also print the tool calls in here. Tool calls, message.tool calls. Maybe that was confusing, right? Because yeah, it's a message from the assistant. It doesn't have any content, but it has some tool calls. So it's fine. So it got one tool. The tool is delegate to coder, and the arguments is a map. And here you can see why we did that whole shenanigans in the tools with reflect. Here the argument is going to be a map from string to string, I guess, and here it has a key called prompt, and the value is hello world in Python. And if we check the delegate tool, it has this structure, and here it's going to parse from JSON. The key is prompt, and the value is going to be put in here, right? So we are parsing into this structure so that it puts the value here without us having to pass it in new or passing it in call manually or somehow, right? We don't have to pass, because otherwise I would have had to do a map here from string to any and then convert it from a into params, right? And it would have been too much boilerplate. And I think this makes it a bit cleaner, in my opinion, even though the code is a bit too complex for my likings, but whatever. So then it called chat, write hello world in Python, it added a message, and I think it's fine to keep the role as user, I guess. Then it called to code llama, nice. But here it complains that does not support chat. Okay, I guess. Shit. Whatever, maybe we can figure out what it can support, but for now, it's promising. It called to the right LLM, so that's at least promising. So here it added a message, empty role, empty content, because it failed. So Olama chat response failed. Then why do we still add the message? Or my chat response? Okay, chat response. So here we get an error from chat. So in our delegate tool, this will probably return an error, right? And it probably errors where? I guess it errors here. But error is not null, right? So why does it still add message? Or how much chat response? I see. So if the status code is 400 or anything bad, doesn't fail. So you have to check that here, I guess. I would have to do something like if res.status code is not equal to, is there anything like status code 200? HTTP status okay, I guess. So if it's not status okay, then no, I would say error is equal to, I just need an example. I guess a good example is in agent itself. Not really. I'm pretty sure I have something like return fmt error. Oh, wrong spot. Okay. Failed to make a request. What can we put here? I guess we don't have an error. I mean, probably we can just put status code. And instead of the name, maybe, not even sure. Hola Machat, I guess. I mean, I would like to have something like the request, maybe. But it has to be like W, I guess. Or A, I don't know. Golang error structure. Oh, it's V, right? Just lowercase v, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so it's gonna hopefully print the error and return, or I guess it's gonna return the new error instead of just saying okay. But yeah, here I guess it was fine. Tools too, and I guess even though it failed, Llama itself knew how to do this one, so it was fine. But let's run it again. Right, hello world in Python, because now that's pretty funny. So add message. Maybe I'll have to think about the logs, maybe make them have some logs with info, some with debug, and then just see, okay. Weather order in Python, tools, function, but why did it call weather? What the fuck? I can't write hello world in Python. But why did it call, and why did it call it Tokyo? Is it stupid? The fuck? Do I have anything in the prompt about Tokyo? No. The fuck? Tool calls, but why did it? Okay, let's call it again. Write hello world in Python. I mean, I guess it's pretty random. Code hello world in Python. Pretty sad. Again, like, I guess it's because it's a small LLM, it's kind of stupid. You know what? I'm gonna use a read line wrap. I don't have it. Shit. Write hello. I mean, we can just okay. So fail to make request, right? 400. Nice. Like at least we got the thing, but maybe we can also include the content was hello world. Yeah, I mean, again, the LLMs are pretty dumb. Can I maybe do something like percentage %t rs? You know what? It makes sense to read the body before. Yeah, why not? Okay, anyway, so now it should show like a better, right? Hello world in Python. Yeah, okay, let's kill the weather tool because it's annoying. Whatever. Right, hello world in Python. So maybe for the, okay, so now it tells us the right stuff that we have to do. Okay, perfect. So at least we know that, well, maybe code llama apparently doesn't work with chat, so we might want to add the other thing, which was generate, from what I remember. Let's look at the docs. API generate a completion. So is it maybe just generate completion? Hopefully it is, because I don't want to. Okay, so let's hope that generate is the actual thing. So let's add now. What's kind of annoying, I would say, is inside of the delegate tool, it's like, how do we know that you need to call to chat or to generate? That's kind of annoying, to be honest. Maybe you can just pretend that this is also gonna use the same model for now, just to see if this thing would actually work. So what, write hello world in Python. So delegate to coder, it gave it that. I mean, here it doesn't have a context of what it's supposed to do. So, okay, let's try to add some better messages. So when something happens, it should show its thinking process from what I would say. So inside of agent, and we'll add these with print instead of logging. Okay. So when we add a message, not really important, I would say maybe for a tool call, we should do something like fmt.println, and obviously we'll have some kind of switch, so you can switch it off. Printf, printf, okay, printf. So we're gonna have the agent name. I need to check weight. Percentages is gonna be the function name, and then \n, and here we can say a.name tool call function name. Right, so I need to check with blah blah, and in main we can switch from debug to info. Let's say that this is the message that the LLM will show you when it needs to call to a function. Okay, then once it gets a response, so here it's gonna say I need to check with the tool, right? If it has a tool, and then it gets a prompt, it gets a response. I guess here it should be another print. Is gonna say something like this. %s, and we're gonna put here the response, right? So now if we run this thing and we say write hello world in Python, it's gonna do something like super. Okay, I didn't spell this one right. Oh, I did, but no, supervisor. Okay. Let's capitalize the things because yeah. And let's also add a system prompt for this in your helpful coding assistant. You must provide code answers. I guess that's fine. So let's try again now with the proper names. So write hello world in Python. Okay, so it's gonna say supervisor, I need to check with the delegate coder. Then the coder is gonna do, here's a simple hello world in Python, blah blah. Okay, then it gets the response. Hi, here's it's like it's pretty funny. It asked the coder for a thing, and then it's like, oh, it's my idea. Here's how a simple hello world program in Python. Here you go. Don't mind the guy that's actually working. It's my response. Okay, nice. The only thing is that the output is gonna be duplicated because yeah, maybe we can use a different color for these things. Right. Okay, so golang fmt printf terminal color. I mean, it's gonna be the same stuff with this stuff, right? And here again, maybe we want to have some kind of function or something. Okay, let's try to add these things just for the memes, right? Terminal color light gray. Obviously, I've been on this page before, so oh shit. It's kind of annoying. You know what would be a good idea? Actually ask our Scufris how to do it. How to color text to light gray in ANSI. And I mean, it's already useful, right? Hopefully it works. So I need a backslash. And this is the reset. Okay. So let's put that here as well. And then we need the reset. Again, I would like probably refactor this thing to be a bit nicer, but for now it works. And instead of red, how about like how do you spell that? Turquoise. I think it's a better color for the names. Cyan. That was the color. Where is it? Here. So it's 34. 37 is light gray. And I guess red was 37. I don't know what red was. So 34. And we need 0 for reset. Perfect. So let's run it now. Write hello world in Python. Nice. So it's gonna do. Oh, but why is it not light gray? I guess it's my terminal skin. Here's a simple hello world. The supervisor responds. Wait, what? Curious why didn't format println response? What? How do I see the color scheme? 7, 4? We can try like random colors. 36. What is 36? Right. Hello world in Python. Ah, okay. So 36 is like a blue thing. Okay, nice. At least this was. Okay, the supervisor is is pretty dumb. So, you know, when you copy from your mate in school and you're still doing it wrong, I guess that's what happened here. I need to check with delegate to coder, then the coder generated some response, then the supervisor copied the response, but it's wrong, and then we got the actual result. Okay, nice. So at least we see the train of thought, let's say. 36. What's 35? Right, hello world in Python. Some kind of purple. Let's keep asking it. What is dark gray in, let's see, code? 30. Let's make it dark gray. Right, hello world in Python. Oh, nice. Dark gray is my background color. Okay. Let's see 31. Yeah, shit, it's red. It's ugly. I mean, it's fine to have it as white, so it was 37, I guess. Maybe 38. No, I should have done a script to see all the colors, but I really don't care. Right, hello world in Python. Okay, whatever. So 37 it is then, like the white. So we might need a smarter AI though. Right, but at least, yeah, it's pretty nice. Okay, oh, so that's even it's even funnier. So I need to check with the delegate to coder, and then the coder came up with a bunch of shit. Like, here is a hello world in Python. To run this code, you have to do whatever. Alternatively, you can also write the same program in a script, whatever. And then the supervisor just took one of the things. Here is hello world program in Python. Nice. So it kind of works. Now, the only thing I'm a bit sad about was that CodeLlama doesn't work with the chat feature. And what's kind of annoying is when we add delegate, the delegate tool calls to chat. Right? So that's a bit annoying. We could create a tool that calls the LLM itself, the code Llama LLM, and doesn't use chat, but it uses generate. We could do that, but I don't know. I'm curious about DeepSeek. So let's use, I guess it was, come on, it was a list here. So DeepSeek R1. It's for, I mean, it's not that big, I guess. So let's use DeepSeek as the supervisor and see how it works differently. Right, hello world in Python. Okay, so DeepSeek doesn't support tools. Okay, then let's switch them because the coder doesn't require tools. Right, hello world in Python. I need to check with delegate to coder. Looks like it's pretty slow. It did something. And the supervisor, smart as usual, just gave us just the thing. Oh, think. We are writing the classic hello. Okay, so that's cool, the fact that DeepSeek has thinking. Okay, that's pretty nice. Now again, what I'm not sure is right now we are saving the coder history, right? So it knows what it talked before. I think that's fine in our project because the supervisor also knows its history. So why wouldn't the coder know its history of what it did? It could also make sense that you want the coder to be like a blank slate every time, and then somehow the supervisor to provide history from its own context. Like besides just the prompt, it should also generate a context for the coder. So maybe I talked about something with the supervisor talked about that with another agent, and then I guess it could put the entire history in the prompt, or I guess the context in the prompt, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I think it's fine. But again, you would need to do some prompt engineering to get to that level. So I think for now it looks decent. What I would also like is to add back the weather tool, because the weather tool was cool. Okay, so let's go back. Let's start and let's say, how is the weather in Tokyo? I need to check with weather. The current weather in Tokyo is mostly sunny. Write a hello world program in Python. I need to check with delegate to coder. Come on. Now, this is pretty cool though. again, I would like maybe to change the color of this text. That's like the debugging part, but wait, didn't it? So I need to check with delegate to coder. I'm not sure if I want to print maybe also the request. Not sure. We're going to write a simple program that prints hello world because it doesn't look like it gave it the Python version. But note, the instruction says you must provide code answer, so I will output code in these languages. Maybe did, because here it says Python. Yeah, so, no, pretty nice. How about example in C? Wait, why? Why did it? Here is an example of a simple I need to check with weather for some reason. And then I need to check with delegate to coder. Yeah, I guess we would need a better, larger LM. I guess I can run a larger LM from Llama. Like maybe... Ooh, Llama 4 is too big, honestly. Like this one is also with vision. Because we are running the 1 billion parameters one, which is pretty small. So we can just remove the 1B. We just have to wait for it to download them. So yeah. Maybe even Gemma 3. I saw that this one also lets you do image stuff. So maybe we want to do some image stuff with it. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you have any, suggestions about what tools we can add, we can look into that. Or maybe suggestions about how we can make this interface a bit prettier. Maybe there are some terminal tools, like Rust has those cool terminal tools that we can use. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. I think it looks fine even as like a library, so you can just create agents with different LLMs. You can add descriptions, names to them. You can have function tools like plain functions that just call to Go code. Then you can also have delegating to agents, and delegating is also just a tool, but it's like a template, so it lets you change the function name, and it also has a changeable description, I guess. And right now it only does chat. So yeah, maybe we want to somehow allow to also do generate or other things other than chat. What if we had a tool that downloads a model from here? I mean, it would spin up into probably Terminator, honestly. It would download a better model and run it to take over. So not sure about that. Maybe we are not gonna do that. So yeah, but yeah, we can also add another agent. So yeah, maybe what I want to do in the meantime is probably again improve logging a bit to make it prettier, like have a nicer experience from the terminal. Then instead of putting the system prompts from here, I kind of want to use those model files. Try to create some agents, like models in my local registry basically, and they are gonna have the system prompts here, and one of them is probably gonna be called Scufris because Scufris is gonna be the main guy. And what if, so right now we have these things, what if we are gonna add some kind of text to speech? That would be pretty funny. Obviously text to speech, it's not gonna be part of any like agent or LLM. It's gonna be more part of the IO, right, of the input output. So it's gonna be part of this thing, which right now is just a for loop. But yeah, hopefully it makes sense that it's gonna be part of like IO. It's not really an LLM thing. Maybe even tools for generating images. That would be the next step, I guess. So yeah, right now, I mean, delegate tool is fine. I guess a tool that downloads a model would be just a function tool. I don't see why it's not. And again, even the coder tool could be just a function tool. Because the coder, if it works, but I have to check, if it only works with generate, then it doesn't need a history, it doesn't need other tools. Basically, it's just an LLM. So at that point, it can be a simple function tool. Also, what else do we have? Do we have any? I mean, we have probably like image generation would also be just a tool because it's gonna be, as you might expect, just a function call to something like Stable Diffusion, right? So it's just a function call. It doesn't have any tools, history, or whatever. It's just that. It can have like an agent which would be the artist agent that's supposed to generate prompts for it, and that agent would have a reference, but again it would be just a tool, but it would also be linked not to the supervisor but to some kind of artist agent. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. I'll see what more interesting stuff I can come up with, but I guess those are the main things, like creating model files and trying to improve the IO and maybe even the error messages somehow. I'm not sure. I don't really like the errors in Go because they don't show the lines. Somehow I was expecting to see like line numbers and stuff when I do logger error, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still fine. So yeah, probably just improving the messages, IO, and that would be my ideas. And we'll see what we can do in the next one. So until then, see you.